This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Mark Magnuson.
Hello and welcome into Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today is Monday, April 21st, 2025, and we're so glad you can join us for today's show. In today's episode, I will be joined by Robin Schmahl of agmarket.net to recap our closing markets for today. Of course, today's trading taking place after a three-day weekend with no trading last Friday. And then also, I first will be joined by Linda Funk of the Soy Foods Council. She is the executive director as we discuss Soy Foods Month.
It's time to go between the pods with the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network and the Iowa Soybean Association. For the next year, we will explore the ways Iowa-grown soybeans are making a difference at home and around the world. Now, here's your host of Between the Pods, Mark Magnuson.
Mark Magnuson for the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and I'm joined today by Linda Funk. She is the executive director of the Soy Foods Council, and we wanted to have Linda on because, of course, April is Soy Foods Month. Linda, could you tell us the importance of April to the entire, this side of soy, and when we think about soy foods?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's fun to be able to talk about soy all year round, but April is certainly the month that we celebrate it. And it's really just an opportunity to really talk about all the soy foods that are available, in addition to the many health benefits, and just in general, how to start adding it to a healthy diet. It's quite easy. So it's really fun to be here and talking with you.
And Linda, was that the original, idea behind the Soy Foods Council in general, just promoting soy on the human nutrition side of things?
Yes, it really was. And it was really to increase the awareness of soy foods. You know, back in 1999, 2000 is when the Soy Foods Council was started. And really what kicked it off was the FDA giving soy protein our heart healthy claim. And that states, if you consume 25 grams of soy protein in the context of a healthy diet daily, it may reduce the risk of coronary heart disease. So that's what got everybody excited about soy protein and soy foods. And then we started the Soy Foods Council to really just continue to increase that awareness.
And soy is not just a substitute, correct? You already mentioned that term, soy protein. We know that a lot of people looking for protein sources all the time and additional protein sources, and that's where soy can fit in?
Absolutely. And, you know, I say that soy protein is having its moment in the sun, and it's really true. Everybody's talking about protein. And soy protein is such a great protein in the fact that it's very lean. And it has these very fair amount of benefits that go along with it. But to your point in not being a substitute, I think the other thing that people get a little confused about and worried about is that, oh my goodness, if I start eating soy protein, that must mean I can't eat any other protein. And that is totally incorrect. At the Soy Foods Council, we talk about soy and meat protein being a perfect partner all the time. And, you know, sometimes if you want to have a steak or a pork chop as a center of the plate, then have some soy foods on the side as a side dish. So we really do work well together. And in fact, last year, I worked with Greta Irwin at the Iowa Turkey Federation, and we did a chef recipe contest with soy and turkey. And this year, we're going to be talking to the Iowa Culinary Institute to develop a program to present to the students, and possibly a recipe contest with them also. So it's really a great way to showcase how soy and meat can work together.
So we know the benefits of the protein from the protein source of soy, but could you tell us as well, how do amino acids figure into this? Because I know that soy contains some essential amino acids as well.
Yeah. You know, that's a great thing to be able to talk about, is that soy protein has all 9 essential amino acids. And, you know, if you can't remember what amino acids really do, they're the building blocks for your body. So they're essential for good development. And so therefore, soy has all the essential amino acids. So it's really equal to the quality of meat. So that's the beauty of soy protein.
Let's stick with just the protein source. I'm thinking about, athletes, people that are involved in sports. They're even getting more protein than just the average person that's walking around. But let's say you have an aversion to, or you're not allowed to ingest like a whey protein, for example. Well, then soy protein can help to fill that gap, can it?
Absolutely. And the same thing when you talk about, just as a quick aside of milk, if somebody has a lactose intolerant, soy milk is such a great opportunity for them to consume a milk, and it's fortified with calcium. But when we're talking about athletes, it's really great because it supports muscle growth and repair. So that's what's so great about soy protein. So many people talk about after you exercise and you've really worked your muscles, that it's great then for the recovery to have some kind of soy protein. You might have a shake, you might have a delicious a cup of chocolate soy milk, something like that, so that you're ingesting the soy protein for that muscle recovery.
And I know this, Linda, because I get your emails. I'm on your email list. I know that soy is involved in a lot of different dishes that can be incorporated into a lot of different dishes. Is soy one of the more versatile things that can be, I guess, put on the plate?
I think I'm biased, but yes, because it's so easy to include things. I think edamame is one of those things. You can add it to a salad easily, a shelled edamame, not the pod. So the shelled edamame, put it in a salad. You could put it in a soup. You could put it in a sauce of some sort if you're really looking for something like that. But it's so versatile when you start looking at it from that point of view. But then there's another great product called miso, which is a fermented product. It's fermented soybeans that make this paste. And what's great about miso is the fact that it is fermented and it has this incredible umami quality. So it really gives this really deep, rich flavor to whatever you're making. So for instance, you can just brush it on meats as you're grilling or roasting them. You can put it on fish. You can include it in soups. You can include it in sauces that you're making. And certainly, if you're making gravy around Thanksgiving, putting in a little teaspoon of miso will add so much depth of flavor. So it's really a great product. So there's so many things out there that are easy to use. The other thing that I think is great is certainly when we talk about school programs and kids that aren't able to eat peanut butter, we have a soy nut butter. So it's so wonderful that kids can have that peanut butter and jelly sandwich with soy nut butter, or they can eat it on an apple slice, something like that. So there's a lot of products out there that are really easy to add in.
And to that point, I know the Soy Foods Council also has a new cookbook. Could you tell us a little bit, please, about the new cookbook?
Yeah, so it's called Just Add Soy. And what's so great about it is there's beautiful pictures and recipes. Every recipe has a picture. We decided that we really wanted to do that. So as people are starting to look at making soy food products or recipes or dishes, that they could see how they looked. But then we decided to have our sections, our chapters: ingredients, sauce sensations, sandwiches, wraps and rolls, one bowl meals, get creative with soy, fresh ideas for salads and dressings, and some sweet soy indulgences for dessert. So it kind of takes you from appetizers all the way through desserts, and really beautiful photos and very easy recipes. So we're just delighted to be able to talk about that. But it's great that we also have it available in a digital format. So if you go to www.thesoyfoodscouncil and see the drop down bar that says digital cookbooks, you click on that and you'll see the Just Add Soy cookbook, and you can download it for no cost.
Well, we've talked about the versatility of soy, and I guess that extends to the cookbook as well with those different options. Linda, is there anything else you'd like to let us know about Soy Foods Month, how it factors into soy and human consumption and those benefits of soy, and anything else you'd like to pass along here as we celebrate Soy Foods Month?
Yeah, another one that I think is important to men and women, but probably more women, is skin health. And we have done a great study on skin health. And as you ingest soy, so you have to eat it, it's not topical. So you ingest soy, it really helps wrinkles and your quality of your skin. So that's something really excited to talk about also.
She is Linda Funk, Executive Director of the Soy Foods Council. Linda, thanks so much for the time. Really appreciate it. And happy Soy Foods Month.
Thank you.
Thank you to Linda Funk, Executive Director of the Soy Foods Council, for joining today's show for Between the Pods. Coming up next, it is the closing markets with Robin Schmahl of agmarket.net. But first, a word from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soybean Checkoff.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Time now for closing markets on Ag Matters PM, and I'm joined by Robin Schmahl of agmarket.net. Robin, coming off of the 3-day weekend, no trading last Friday for Good Friday. How did the grains trade today?
Well, we didn't see a whole lot of activity in the corn. I mean, it was kind of back and forth, but holding fairly well. The pressure was a little bit more on the soybeans and on the wheat. Even though we're seeing a lower dollar, that's weakening. That should support the wheat. Wheat, it's not really doing a whole lot. And I think that's probably because of the, wheat conditions right now. So we really didn't see much there. A little pressure on the beans. That's somewhat understandable because the Brazilian Oilseed Association raised their export forecast to 108.5 million metric tons. If that comes to fruition, that would be a record export pace or amount, I should say, for Brazil. And that would put their ending stocks to 5.4 million metric ton. The Oilseed Association came out with that estimate for April. That's down 40.5% from their March estimate when they were looking at ending stocks at 9.1 million metric tons. So they're really looking at a benefit off of this tariff situation, which is potentially going to be an issue for our upside potential on our prices because we won't have quite the world share. Now, there's some other trade negotiations taking place. Japan looks like they're working on some negotiations to increase some of the soybean imports to them, rice imports from the U.S. There's also negotiations taking place with India, South Korea, UK, and the EU with trying to avoid some of these increased tariffs that they had a 90-day reprieve on. Well, China's not in that situation. They're implementing the higher tariffs on Chinese vessels coming in. And so that's ongoing. But you know what? It seems like that's being digested into the market. That's, in essence, becoming old news right now, as far as I'm concerned. You don't hear a whole lot about it. It pops up, but is it really having much influence on the market? Doesn't seem to be like it did when this was first announced. So I think the market is digesting that. We're actually seeing a fairly decent pace as far as shipping out of grains. Corn inspections today were at 1.703 million metric ton. The estimate, or the average estimate, was 1.425 million metric tons. So good there, 27% ahead of last year as far as their inspections are concerned. Soybean, 50,924 million, 550,924 metric tons. A little below the average estimate of 575, but it's still 9% ahead of a year ago. And wheat exports inspections were 510,250 metric tons. That was quite a bit above the average of 325 estimated. It's 15% ahead of a year ago. The November soybean contract is having difficulty trying to penetrate that 200-day moving average. And that's becoming a real resistance level. If we can break through that, we're finally going to see probably some fun buying interest come into that market because they've trimmed a lot of their positions. They're in a position where they could step in and buy, at least initially, technically, and then they would have to be looking at what happens as far as weather is concerned, how much we're going to be planting. Are we going to plant early? Whatever, that's going to be the normal thing that happens. Now we have crop conditions this afternoon. Winter wheat is expected at 47% good to excellent. Spring wheat at 13% planted. Soybeans at 7% planted and corn at 10% planted. That's the estimates right now.
Well, early today, we were watching the stock market and how that was affecting the livestock side of the markets. How did that side trade today and how did it close?
Well, stock market it took quite a bit of a hit. It was down pretty much. Now, it really hasn't impacted the cattle market very much. It hadn't really had a huge impact on hogs. Hogs closed higher. Now, hogs continued to grind higher after they closed the chart gaps last week. And that actually continued buying interest. And a lot of times when you close the chart gaps, it becomes a resistance level. And then they sell into that market because the technical buyers have accomplished the task they wanted to do on the market. Now, there are chart gaps in hogs quite a bit higher. That may take some time to get there. But on Friday, even though the markets were closed, the slaughter and the business out in the country, cutouts on pork jumped $4.22. That was a huge increase. We had three categories there that showed real strength. The bellies, the loins, and the butts showed a lot of strength on Friday. Now at noon today, or the morning report showed cutouts up 19 cents. Not a whole lot, but showing some gains. Was positive after a huge jump. A lot of times we see those big jumps. We see a retracement of those jumps the next day or two. The daily direct cash market for hogs was up 291. That's a good sign as well. Now, slaughter will be less today because of some of the plants being closed for Easter Monday. Excuse me. So hogs are holding, and they're seeing some nice support seemingly under that market, technically for one thing. But I think some fundamentals are starting to shape up a little more positive there. Now, on the cattle side, we had $4 to $7 higher cash last week, and that was a surprise. We thought maybe it could be steady, but that kind of a jump was a little bit of a surprise. But we did have the cattle on feed report, and feeders pulled back a little bit today, not a huge amount, but pulled back a little today because of the higher placement number at 105%. The average estimate was 103.7. Not a lot out of what they were looking at, but still a little bit higher. So I think that's why feeders are back a little bit. Live cattle really not showing a whole lot of pressure. On feed numbers on April 1st were 98% compared to 98.3 for the estimate. And marketing's a little bit better at 101%. The estimate was 100.7%. So nothing much there. And I don't think it's going to have a big influence on the cattle market. Midday boxed beef choice was up $1.16 and select up $2.13. So I think that's all been digested into the market. And again, I think we're looking past all the tariff situation and the beef market. Stock market was under pressure, but yet, cattle held well at cattle and hogs.
Robin, what's the best way for our viewers to get in touch for more marketing information?
They can call me directly at 877-256-3253 or go to agmarket.net. There's an 844 number listed on our website. You can feel free to call in.
Well, we thank you so much for the time here today. Always appreciate it, and have a great rest of your week.
All right. Thank you. It's always a pleasure being on with you.
Thank you to Robin Schmahl of agmarket.net for our closing markets today. Let's take a look at how the markets finished as we check out the market information under the Markets tab of our website at iowaagnet.com.
May corn closes down a half cent at 481 3/4. May soybeans down 7 cents at 1029 1/2. May soybean meal down 270 at 292.90. May soybean oil down 5 cents at 47.82. Chicago wheat down 10 1/4 at 538 1/2. Minneapolis wheat down 5 1/4 at 601 even. Kansas City hard red wheat down 6 3/4 at 550 3/4. May oats down 3/4 cent at 355 3/4. On the Merc, June live cattle down 32 cents at 203.75. May feeder cattle down $1.32 at 285.52. May lean hogs up 62 cents at 91.02. May pork cutout up 5 cents at 97.75. Class 3 milk down 22 cents at 18.08.
That wraps up closing markets for today and brings us to the end of today's show. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can also follow us on YouTube. Click on the notification icon as well to let you know whenever there's any new videos available for you. You can follow us on social media as well at Facebook, X, TikTok, and LinkedIn. And don't forget our morning, midday, and closing market podcast, as well as our daily episodes of our Iowa Ag Matters podcast. You can find that at Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, I'm Mark Magnuson. For Riley Smith, Dustin Huffman, and Andy Peterson, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.